Hey, let's have another one-on-one quick conversation here. This one about relationships. And I want to talk about it in a couple of different ways, but the main thing I want to talk about is the relationship with your wife or partner or your loved ones, whoever they happen to be, and folks that are close to you. Let's start with the wife, just for example. Maybe you haven't thought this through, but when you have an argument with your wife, are you really representing yourself properly? Do you say things you wish you hadn't said? Do you spout off with some angry words that really aren't justified? Do you accuse her of things that she's not guilty of? Do you feel like maybe you're just unfair in the way you treat her, and that maybe it's a situation where you haven't thought through how you feel about the situation? She catches you off guard, whatever. What I want to point out to you is relationships are what life is about. And if we don't take care of those relationships, we end up very empty and very alone, very bitter, very confused about what life is all about and what we need to do to be whole, living persons. If you abuse relationships, you're asking for trouble. And maybe your partner, your wife, knows more about you than anybody in the whole world, and she can give you some advice that you ought to listen to. And it's not pleasant to listen to. And maybe you want to disregard it and discount it and just ignore it and move on to something else. But I'm going to suggest that you sit down with her and ask some hard questions and just listen to her answers. Here's a good question to start with. What do you need more from me or less from me? What do you think our relationship needs to make it better and happier? How would you rate me on a report card of things like empathy and concern for you and our family? I mean, those are tough questions, and the answers are even tougher. I mean, you're going to get some possible feedback that you hadn't thought about, and that is pretty hard. But it's the only way we grow. It's the only way we learn how to improve ourselves and do better in relationships. As young boys, even at 7 years old, young boys are starting to focus very little on relationships and instead focus more on violent behavior, blowing things up, action-oriented kind of things. They just lose interest in relationships, and to their peril, because I think as we get older, we need those relationships. We need them at work. We need them in our personal lives. We need them certainly in our intimate lives with our partners. And if we don't know how to do relationships well, if we don't know how to respect the other person, get what we need from them using tactics that are helpful and healthy instead of damaging, if we don't know how to do that, then relationships are going to be a real problem for us, and we're never going to get very far in life. The people that are most successful are the people who master this, who learn how to do relationships well, who learn the give and take, the negotiation, the stuff that's required to grease the wheels of relationships and make things run smoothly. Salesmen, of course, learn to do this on a superficial level, but that doesn't mean they learn how to do it in their personal lives. So I'm going to ask you to think about this whole question of how you're doing on relationships and ask for some feedback. If you're brave enough, ask for feedback from your children, your friends, your family, your wife. Just make this a project to see what you're doing wrong in terms of interaction with other people. Maybe you're doing nothing wrong. Maybe you've got great relationship skills and you're using them well. Most of us can use some improvement in this area because relationships depend on your being focused on the other person rather than yourself. And most of us are, like it or not, we're sort of focused on ourselves, and it's hard to get away from that. So think about this question of relationships and how you might improve them, and use some feedback from others to make changes in the way you do things, and just spend a little time understanding better what you're all made of and what you're thinking is about when you handle relationships poorly. There's a lot of resources on the website, menandbalance.org, that'll help you with this. There's plenty of videos on YouTube from Men in Balance about this. There's a radio station, menandbalance.org/radio, that has lots of good information that you can listen to while you drive or while you work. There's all sorts of free stuff that'll help you with this. So I would ask you to pay attention to some of that and use whatever helps you. And if you like this video, give it a like and subscribe so you can get on our mailing list. Thanks for listening to all this. I'm Jerry Hancock.